Avery Productions here. Welcome back again to another video, and today I'm going to be counting down the top 10 worst Thomas episodes. And before we get into it, let's establish some ground rules. For one, I'm not going to be considering any episodes from All Engines Go, only ones from Thomas and Friends, so keep that in mind. And also, this is only a personal list, so this is not objective, none of this is fact. And this is all just my own opinion, so don't rage about it if my takes in this video on certain episodes upset you, but it's just my opinion, okay? And if you want to list your top 10 worst episodes down in the comment section, then go right ahead. And without further ado, let's get into this. Number 10. Percy's New Friend. This episode is bad because Percy sucks in this episode. I hate his voice. It is annoying. It sucks. I just can't deal with how childish Martin Sherman or whoever was acting Percy in the US dub was doing. Oh my god, it is bad. Like, genuinely, it sounds so bad. Like, I can't even listen to it for more than 2 seconds. It's just that bad. And the whole idea of this episode, like Percy making friends with animals, it is kind of dumb. No, it's not kind of dumb. It's totally dumb. It's really, really dumb, and I don't like it. It's just weird. It's just childish. It's just weird. Like, how can a loud machine be friends with animals that love peace and quiet and tranquility of forests? Like, how does that work? It just makes 0 sense. It just makes me so upset, and this is not the only Nitrogen era episode you'll see on this list. There is a lot more to come. Don't you worry. Also, quick side tangent, but Percy, I don't think the animals from the forest will enjoy sleeping in a shed full of very loud machines. In conclusion, this episode is terrible and ruined the character of Percy. Moving on, number 9, Percy the Snowman. This episode sucks because it is painfully boring. Look, it's just painful to watch the entirety of the Nitrogen era because every episode is the exact same tedious, formulaic, boring plot. And you know what Thomas did, right? He buried Percy in snow. Percy probably could have suffocated, and Thomas has no repercussions for his actions. He's like, Sir Thomas, like, no scolding, no nothing. Sir Thomas just shows up and he's like, oh, hi, Thomas, and blah, 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 blah. It's just annoying. Why, Thomas? Like, why doesn't he have repercussions for his actions? He probably suffocated. Percy's drivers are now trapped in there with him. Like, what? Why are there a lack of repercussions? And the idea in this episode is basically just a ripoff of Snow Engine from season 7. However, at least that episode had a cool crash, and it was actually good. Both the characters went through arcs. Oliver and Toad both went through arcs in that episode. This episode is just a worse version of Snow Engine. That's basically what this episode is. It's just Snow Engine, but with Thomas and Percy swapped out with Oliver and Toad, and instead of Percy crashing into a giant snowman that the children made, he just got buried in snow by Thomas. Like, genuinely. This episode is just dumb. Like, just, I'm never gonna rewatch this episode again. Number 8, Topped Off Thomas. This episode is one of the most cringy episodes of this entire show. I cannot even count how many times I cringed while watching this episode. My goodness, Thomas saying the terms Mr. Wind and Thomas just repeating every single sentence like 5 times. It gets annoying. Like, why do we need to hear Thomas saying the same thing 3 times? The 3 strikes formula is also really, really repetitive in this one. In some Hit Era episodes, the 3 strikes formula actually goes by like rather quickly. Sometimes it's sped through, but this one, it's just an eternity. It's like 80% of the runtime is just Thomas chasing Sir Tom Hat's hat down, and Sir Tom Hat does nothing about it. He just sits at the station and just does nothing. It's not like he goes with Thomas to go fetch the hat. He just sits there and does nothing. If you want your hat back, then you better go look for it yourself. You selfish little... Okay, I'm gonna hold back a little bit on the language. So, yeah, but come on, Sir Topham Hatt, you could do better. You can just go in Thomas's cab or something and go find your hat, your precious hat. And you've lost your hat so many times now. It should just be like a regular. You should just be like, oh well, bother, I must buy a new hat or something. Like, genuinely, why do you need to look after your hat? It's just and towards the end of the episode where Thomas literally talks to the wind and the wind just puts the top hat on his funnel, that cringes me so bad. I'm just done with this episode. Just Number 7. Thomas puts the brakes on. This episode is on the list because it is so boring. The entire episode is just Thomas going around Sodor and his special load falling off his flatbed. That's the entire episode. It's so boring and it's just so predictable. Like, you know Thomas is gonna be able to repair the river bridge in the end, because of course, if he can't, then, oh, that'd be a harmful message to portray to children that you can't fix your mistakes and be undone. No, it isn't. It's fine to tell children that when you make mistakes, some of them just can't be undone and you have to work around them. Like, seriously, could it have really been that hard? This episode just sucks. It's just, like, why does this episode even exist? There's just so many episodes of Thomas rushing his job and failing without him noticing. And the 3 strikes formula just sucks here. It makes the episode feel so boring and unwatchable. Like, jeez. You don't need to go this slow. If they at least sped up the pace a little bit, it would be nice. The episode goes by so slow and just has the same repetitive dialogue like every other Nitrogen Era episode. Or, well, this episode wasn't made in the Nitrogen Era, but you get my point. Every other Sharon Miller 3 strikes formula episode. I am just really not that big of a fan of this episode. And it is easy to see why this is one of season 12's worst episodes. Number 6. Panicky Percy. Where do I even begin with this episode? It's just terrible. Just why? When did Percy get so worrisome? Oh my goodness. Why is Percy overreacting? Just because Thomas didn't make it to the station on time doesn't mean he had an accident. Like, how many times has Thomas been late? Like, a bajillion. Like, why do we need to, like, it's honestly impossible to explain how much anger inducing this episode is. The fact that Percy asked Duck to contact the rescue center is so dumb. Like, at least look for Thomas first. And where would Thomas be dangling off of exactly? Like, what location would he be dangling off of? Like, the Northwestern Railway barely even reaches in the mountains. Like, that's what, like, the narrow gauge railway is for, not the Northwestern. Oh my god, this episode is just so dumb. And it ruins the character of Percy. Percy just became so worrisome, and it just got so irritating to listen to him keep on talking. And the fact that they literally halted the express, and just why? Even Rebecca can't even be safe in this episode either. She's an idiot as well. She literally halts Gordon from the express just because she believes Percy is right. But Percy is not the most trustworthy engine on the island of Sodor. Clearly, you shouldn't be trusting a little green engine who's like probably so young, who acts so young and immature. Like, oh my god. In the Bwaba, Percy was just assassinated. Holy cow, Percy, the babyish side of Percy really got pushed in this era. My god, is it awful? It's just so stupid. And the crash is dumb. Just everything about this episode is terrible, except the animation. That part's fine. Except when they're bouncing, of course. But aside from that, this episode is a train wreck, and I'm never revisiting this one in a million years. Number 5. Forever and Ever. This episode is awful because of Henry being kicked out of the STEAM team, that's for sure. And, I mean, the idea isn't horrible, like, kicking Henry out of the STEAM team is fine, but the way they do it in this episode is horrible. They just use it in a throwaway line of dialogue and just says Henry wanted to move to Vickerstown. Like, why isn't there at least an episode that explains this? Or an episode that like motivates him, or just something in general that motivates him to move to Vickerstown, other than just, I want to. Like, why does he want to? Why is he gonna? Like, is he not gonna miss his friends? Like, it makes no sense. And the fact that Nia is the one to tell him that he should suck it up and, you know, deal with that his friends are leaving, that does not work. Because Nia literally left her friends willingly. So the message falls flat. This episode is awful. Number 4. Push Me, Pull You. Where do I even begin with this episode? It is so dumb. Like, why? Just why? Is Skarlobi so out of character in this one? Rheneas isn't much better. And this episode is so dumb. The whole concept of a puppet show, and it's so heavy. It's not heavy at all. The heaviest thing on there is like a chest. God. You know what? I'm kind of just done with complaining, because I've had to do that a lot in this video. Anyways, moving on to number 3. Number 3. Henry's Magic Box. This was the first episode to start Hypochondriac Henry. This is just awful. Like, when was Henry ever a hypochondriac? Or scared or worried, or like, he was never depicted like that in any of his appearances. Like, can you tell me a single Henry episode before this that really showed him being scared or worried or just being a hypochondriac, because you can't, because that's not really what he was all about. And it just slaughters Henry's character, and it just made him such a horrible character. And that's why this episode is on the list. Number 2, Up, Up, and Away. This episode is just dumb. Like, the whole concept of balloons just flying everywhere, all over the island, like big giant ones, is so just gimmicky. And I really don't like Thomas and Percy in this episode. They're incredibly annoying. And I don't get why this is such a friendship drama. Just make the episode about the damn balloon, okay? This episode is just awful, and no wonder it is so hated. The number 1 worst Thomas and Friends episode is Monkey Whistle. This is the dumbest episode of Thomas and Friends. Like, seriously, this, like, you thought Up, Up, and Away was dumb. This is even dumber. Literally, there is either A, rhyming, or B, alliteration every 5 seconds. It gets so annoying listening to 8 minutes and 45 seconds of just straight alliteration. It's just, it makes me so mad. And there's just, why? Thomas's wonky whistle sounds annoying, and the whole logistics of the episode, like railway practice, the fact that Thomas just goes off when workmen are clearly on him, and he could have literally ended up killing someone, and it's just, oh my god, this is so dumb. Thomas's wonky whistle sounds annoying, and it's annoying seeing Thomas being dismissive, and everything about this episode, it's like a typical Night at Dinner episode, but dialed up to 1000, and how annoying it is in terms of dialogue, the characters. It's just the worst episode in all of Thomas and Friends. Goes to this one, no questions asked. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Hope you had a great 2023, and I will see you all in 2024. Bye-bye.